Welcome to another episode of the Day Witness podcast. For those who have been listening and following us, welcome. For those who haven't, and this is your first time listening in, we are looking into the topic of discrimination in Norway. In every episode, we've been inviting people to share their lived experiences with discrimination, and also people who are experts in the field in a certain way, who perhaps they're working in an organization where discrimination came up in that field. So today we have Beatriz, who's from Brazil and has been living in Norway for the past 7 years, if I'm correct on that one. As far as I understood, she's also been working in other Scandinavian countries like Sweden and Denmark. Her work background is mostly in diversity and inclusion as a consultant, but she also works in the field of communication and design. Welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me.
So today what we're going to talk about is really something when Beatriz reached out to me was pretty saddening for me when I heard about it, and also dramatic. She told me that she had a video which documented her experiences on one of the public transports in Oslo where she met discrimination with her girlfriend. Perhaps maybe you'd like to walk us through that particular event. When did it happen, where, and how?
Yeah, we can talk about it. I have a video as well. We think we can share the audio. So this was 2020 June. I think the pandemic had given like a little dip, so some people could like meet 5 people or so. It was like a evening. I went to Nordstrand, like this neighborhood here in Oslo, for dinner at a friend's house. I was with 4 or 5 other friends, Scandinavian friends, one Swedish friend, and other Norwegians, with my partner, who is Finnish Norwegian, grew up in Norway, so she's basically very Norwegian. On the way back on the tram, I think tram 17 at the time, or 13, 17 I think now, and we were sitting in the tram in those seats that are 2 and 2 facing each other by the door, and this group of like around 6, 8 teenagers, and there's like around 15 years old, comes in, and we're speaking in English because of me, and they start questioning us in Norwegian why we were speaking in English. Then we just don't answer them. We just keep speaking English. Everybody with me were just like, let's not get attached to these kids. And then they just point their finger at one of us and start saying like, you are the foreigner, aren't you? You are the foreigner. And then they start aggressively pointing at my girlfriend's face, actually almost touching her face with their finger and saying like, you're Polish, you are a Polish fuck, or you are poor and you clean my house, and just kept yelling it, and I started filming because I was like, this happened before, not at this level, but I promised myself I would never let it go undocumented. So I just started filming, and they just kept going and then calling us communists, and we're just basically not answering to them. We're just looking, and that's what happened. And then they stopped like 2-3 stops after, and they were carrying beers, and they just kept then smashing the door of the tram, calling us communists and like go Trump and stuff like that, which to me was very awkward. And yeah, that's basically what happens. Quite shocking, devastating really, to see kids behaving like that.
Yeah. Are you ready to show that video?
Yes, I can show that. Should I play it close to the mic?
No.
Yeah, or just just show it to you. Yes.
Yeah, you could just play.
Oh, wait. I'm gonna just go from the beginning. Yeah.
What is he saying now? Polish. I'm gonna
They look like they're like 15, 16?
Yeah,
right?
yeah. We found the parents of this person that is the most offensive one. We found their parents, and yeah, he was 15 at the time. Yeah.
It seems like there was like what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 or 8 who were sitting together, and they all seemed very drunk for one thing, and you were with your friends at the time, right?
Yeah.
How many were you?
It's me, 2, and 3 sitting on the side. So it was, we were 5, 6 in total with me.
I also see like there's other people around there as well.
They didn't do anything. When the boys left the tram, no one did anything. No one came and like asked how we were doing, nothing. It was such a surreal situation as well. I laugh, but at the same time, of course, this has affected me a lot, but it's just so absurd that it was so surreal, I think. It was lots of people paralyzed towards that.
How does it feel rewatching this now after 2 years? Or more than 2 years, you know?
Yeah, I feel still disappointed and angry. I don't think much changed. I actually, what makes me more sad is what happened after. Because as you can see, the boy mentions his Instagram account. I got home, my girlfriend rewatched this a lot and found him on Instagram, and quickly we found him on Gulesider and found his parents, like his mom actually, and we just texted her the video and said, your son just did this. And the fact is, I found her work email because of course you have mutual friends. Norway is a very small country, and I sent her an email explaining to her why the impact this had on me. Because I do believe if I wasn't speaking English, my friends weren't speaking English, this wouldn't have happened. So I told her the impact it had on me. I'm a very privileged person. I'm a white Latina. I'm queer, an immigrant, but still I am passing. I'm straight, I'm hetero passing, I'm European passing. And I'm just writing her like, what if I didn't have these privileges? What if I look something different than what I do now? And I also have a support group around me, a community. My partner is Norwegian. And I actually I asked her this question in the email. I said, like, how do you think this would have impacted someone from a different social background or like an identity? Mm-hmm. And all she did was answering me saying, I'm shocked. I will deal with this. I'll follow up later. But the thing is, she just followed up with my girlfriend, who spoke to her in Norwegian. She made the boy meet my girlfriend. He didn't show to the meeting. He called her on FaceTime. So he talked to my girlfriend, but he never apologized to me or the rest of the group. So that to me was the most shocking. And I think that's where I have the most, how can I say, sadness, I think, around it. It's just how it was followed up, which explains the problem as well. The family where he's coming from. I can imagine this mother must have been completely ashamed and not really knowing what to do. But I kind of gave her the ropes to like reach out and let's have a conversation around this.
But she chose instead to reach out to your girlfriend instead. Yeah,
she just talked to my girlfriend. Like she didn't get him to call me. She didn't follow up with me, who actually opened up how it felt. Like my girlfriend just basically texted like this. Look what your son just did.
And did your girlfriend at any point go like, you should be also apologizing to my girlfriend too, or
no.
Was there no opportunity to even say that?
No, she didn't do that, and I think that's where the conflict came, and how does this type of discrimination goes into a local, and how it's perceived as an immigrant, I think. So we had long conversations around it. Because the rest of the group, they didn't get affected. They were just like, oh, boys will be boys. While I was like, holy fuck, this is like, I'm not welcome here. Yeah. I am, so that, I think it completely shook me in a different level, which I don't think she understood. And her narrative was, oh, these kids from Nordstrand, they would come with, she grew up in Groenland, and they would come, and she said when she was a kid, they would come and they would bully people in the tram, and she's like, they would have done it anyway. But I'm still like, it's just different.
Yeah. So your response is quite different from how your girlfriend responded, and this hit you really deeply.
Deeply.
And the fact that they basically kind of called you Polish as well, which is wrong. For one thing. And you know, when I was watching this video, he kept repeating, and he's pointing at you, your new girlfriend at that point, and to be confronted with that as well. I could only imagine, like, how would you respond? But you also mentioned the fact that no one else stood up for you as well at that time.
Yeah, like you can hear my friends saying, "Oh, are you filming them? Get their faces." But there was no like psychological support, which I think is the most important in situations like that. I have Polish friends who got so sad around this, and it's just terrible, like, as well. Like, someone was educating them on this, you know? This is not coming from them, from kids.
Right.
This is coming from someone teaching them this. Someone said this, they heard it. And the weirdest thing is that when I posted this online, getting contact by other moms that were like, oh, I know the mom of this boy. I know the mom of this boy. Oh, this boy has two moms. They're also queer. Oh, and then you just start like, oh, so what happened here? Like, yeah. So,
and eventually, your girlfriend had to pull that video down as well.
Yeah, so it kind of grew out of proportions, because what happened is this: there was this community of a bit of older people. Who grew up in Nordstrand, who has some type of activism in the neighborhoods. They started posting this in neighborhood Facebook groups. Yeah. So this mom saw the videos, and the boy saw the video of himself, and things start getting out of control. And so when he called my girlfriend, he asked, "Can you please take off the video?" And she said yes. She actually didn't say it. She said, "Oh, it wasn't me who posted it, so I need to talk to that person." So she kind of also gave the kind of trying to give him a chance to talk to me, but and I am terrified being an immigrant. I don't understand the law, so it's like, okay, it's a minor. I filmed the minor, so I just asked everybody to remove the video, or just post about it without showing the video. So that's how it was removed from the bigger bubble.
Because I remember when you came, before we had this interview, you were also afraid, like, showing this video to me, and also like the consequences of that. Even as 15, 16, you know, I think it's very much the responsibility of the parents, and also there are rules as well, posting, in a sense, but you can also post, you know, by also blurring the faces as well. Because I think it's also, this is evidence of what happened, you know, and had you not taken this, I wonder what would happen. You know, did that really happen? You know, is it something that I remembered wrong? You know, but then you have this as video to be reminded in a way of this event. So tell me afterwards. So once this event happened and then it went on social media, it kind of went out of hand. What happened then? You know, how did you cope with maybe not able to sort of find justice, I guess, some kind of maybe even closure from this event, since you never got the apology from this boy or from the other boys even?
Yeah, I think it was lots of tears, to be honest, and conversations with my girlfriend trying to make her understand the impact on me was different. What happened, in a way, I had just started a new job at the time in Norway, and there was lots of like mothers and people from Nordstrand that were coming to me and being like, I saw the video, this happened to you. I had conversations with my daughters who are teenagers, or my kids who are... So it drove conversations around, and then I was just like, oh wow, there was an effect, like you're saying, like this documentation, like it kind of proves how horrible it was and out of proportions. Like usually if I just told you this story, like people would be like, okay, it might have not been that bad, but it's there, it's in your face, and it really started driving conversations between parents and their kids. But again, it's much bigger than that. It's systemic, and the people who contact me who are activists, they say like there is a big problem of segregation. My girlfriend also she actually studies segregation and how the rich communities from Norway, they segregate themselves from the rest of society, and what are the dangers of it, and what are you doing with the education of it? Like, it's 15-year-olds, what they're going to become when they turn 20, 30, 40.
What do you think then? Maybe we're coming, because usually you would ask this question a little bit later, but I think this might be a good time to actually also ask is, what do you think is a solution then? Because you talked about, your frustration that it seems like there is a segregation of these rich and wealthy, sort of maybe ignorant, exhibiting behavior of xenophobia, and also in some ways as well as a discrimination against the LGBTQ community as well. What do you hope, I guess, out of all of this, your expectation of things could be improved?
I think the first thing is a work I'm doing in myself as a white Brazilian is understanding whiteness. I think doing the work of understanding what does it mean to be white and what the impact that might have if you don't understand your own race, and the privileges that come with it. I think that's the first thing. It's a whole lot of education of understanding white privilege, deconstructing it. It's a vulnerable thing to do. It's tough, but it's needed. You have to. I think second thing is the schools creating something and to hold those teenagers that do that accountable, because there's no accountability. Like you see in the video, there are other bystanders there that don't do anything. So how can we create accountability and not treat kids as, oh, boys will be boys type of thing? No, they are quite grown. Also, the understanding that racism starts being built in children when they're 2-3 years old. So it is parents' responsibility. And the governments overall. I think, like I mentioned here, my girlfriend, she's an urban planner and she talks about segregation in cities. So like, how can we develop cities where the rich don't segregate themselves? How can we actually implement that in the way we're planning and building other parts of the cities and so on? I think that's a start and I can just think about, but
yeah, if more comes along, we can definitely pick this ball back up again and talk about that. There's also something you also mentioned. After this event, you also approached your family as well and talked about this. Could you talk a little bit about that experience?
It was horrible. I think, first of all, it has to say I'm a queer person. That's the reason why I moved away from Brazil. I think it's not an easy place to be queer. So I just called my parents. It was like 1:32 in the morning here. I couldn't sleep. And for them it was around like 9 in the evening, 8 in the evening. And the first thing my dad says is, it's time for you to learn Norwegian. Like, this would haven't happened if you were speaking the language. And this is just basically blaming the victim, right? It's just like, like a victim of sexual assault being asked, what were you wearing that night? And it's just, the basic thing is this shouldn't happen, and that's it. There's no like, what if, or you should have. I am in my rights. I'm just riding public transport. I'm not interrupting. I'm not doing anything wrong. So yeah, it was quite tough, but I responded to him and kind of tried to educate him, but it was just this very lonely weeks and period of trying to educate people to how to support someone who goes through it. Like my partner as well, who had a different perspective. My friends, they were just like randomly like just moving on with their lives and not really reflecting. But that's, I think, I dissociate as well, like the way I speak about it is very rational because I'm not trying to let it come out, but it is a reaction. It is a rational reaction, but I think we have to question that as well.
I think it's quite normal to intellectually sort of move on in a certain way, to be resilient, and knowing that, you know, you're no longer in that unsafe place. But feeling-wise, we still sit with a lot of these emotions of, you know, hurt and pain from that kind of event. And I think that's what I see is, like, even 2 years on, it's still affecting you in some ways and form, and it's unpleasant, you know. And I mean, for me, like, watching this, it's heartbreaking for me, because, like, I have my own experiences as well. You know, I had people coming up to me and say, "Fuck back to China here," you know, and things like that. So I'm only imagining what that feels, but also for you to feel isolated, feel so alone, like you wanted support from your girlfriend, didn't quite get that. You wanted your family support, didn't quite get that. You wanted your friends to be able to discuss this and process it, you know, emotionally with you, and they moved on as well. So in these 2 years, what I'm feeling is that you're still carrying this pain, you know. And I think in any of these kind of events, it will kind of be on top of that. So this leads me to another question, is that often I have people coming into these interviews and, you know, these discussions, is that discrimination is multi-layered. So this is just one event. Did you have any other events as well that also piled up on top of this one?
Yes, yes, I think quite a few. So I lived in Sweden and I lived in Denmark as well. Yeah. And Sweden was the worst of all places. I had, like, in the subway, people coming and like, "What are you speaking English? Leave my country, get out of here." I had, like, people coming and saying, "Your voice is so annoying, shut up, stop talking." Yeah, things like that. And what these things built is, I'm actually a very extrovert person. And since I moved here, I started seeing myself more socially anxious. I don't like going to stores alone. I am more quiet. And I think it comes from that. Like, I know I'm not welcome. And so until I don't speak perfectly the language or something, I'm not going to show some of myself. So yeah, I think that's what I've been carrying with me. Yeah.
And I think, like, all these things interconnect and matter, right? It kind of plays on you a bit. So I guess it's in some ways is that we hold a lot of this as we go through our life. Is there a future for you to continue to be in Norway even after this event?
Yeah, I think there is, and I think the more I start educating myself and finding my community. So today I have a beautiful queer community. I've been getting closer to Shy Varden and trying to do stuff with them, and I have amazing queer friends. So when that horrible thing happened last year in June during Pride at the London pub, I was with them. And when you start suffering and having community around you, you can see the effects, and it brings you resilience and actually support. And also creating an intellectual approach to this as well, but like knowing how to argue. So if you look at data, Oslo has 30%, 33% of foreigners living here, or first generation born. And then if you start looking at it into a more ethnical numbers, and you can start looking at it. So this is happening in Scandinavia. Accept it. And then when you look at your workplace, if you don't have 30% of your workers representing that diversity, so you're already not representing society. Your society is not white anymore. So when you understand that, and you can argue, and you have an intellectual, rational way to argue, people start understanding what you're saying, and then you can start the dialogue. And I think I've had wonderful conversations and actually helped some people understand it. So I do think there is place for me, and but yeah, it's tough. Like I was here saying, like I often say I need to learn Norwegian, because I do still have these things of like this. I don't know, these fears and anxieties and like, yes, I'm learning on my own pace but it's, yeah, I do still have anxiety to go to a shop alone. Like I will freak out if somebody comes and talks to me. I can answer it, but if I don't understand something, I'm just going to disappear. So I carry it a lot, but I think it's easier when you have a community around you, I would say.
Yeah, and I think it's also, do you think that, you went into diversity inclusion work and also being in the Shive community and, Shive Aran, where it's also kind of a healing process for you?
Definitely.
In a way?
Definitely. I also do therapy every week. I have my therapist for 2-3 years now. She's wonderful. I think all of these things are really helpful, really helpful.
And for your work then, I guess, coming back to the solution part, because we already talked about education and having some more awareness in that. For the work that you're doing in the Shive community, then what do you see is progressing there?
I think the understanding of intersectionality. I think there is this funny the gay turkey of the white cis gays, but it's understanding that there is much more beyond the gay lesbian. There is the queer, there's the trans, there is the asexual, there is the intersex, there is different ethnicities that goes into it, there is race, there is class. I think that's changing a lot. Last year we had Angela Davis coming here, and we had a beautiful question around that from someone in the audience who asked her, in these conversations around race, I think the LGBTQIA plus community always stays in the bottom, and how do we go about this? And she said, this shouldn't exist. This conversation should always be together. You shouldn't create these walls of separation, like everything is important. So I think these are the big changes. It's actually creating this understanding of intersectionality and how to create different approaches based on different identities, I guess.
Yeah, and I think also like sort of just walking a little bit back, because you brought in the fact that there's a connection between your ethnicity background to your sexual orientation, and these things connect intersectionality wise. But you also mentioned that the attack on the London pub. You said you were there?
No, I wasn't there. No.
But you were amongst the community who were affected, of course.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. How did that impact you? Time?
Oh fuck! It was sorry.
It's okay. You can swear on here.
Yeah, sorry.
I swear.
I think it was pretty harsh because I woke up with the news, and I have friends who go there every weekend. So my first reaction was to check in on this friend, and on the opposite way, on what happened with this thing in the tram, that my girlfriend couldn't connect fully with what I was experiencing. I couldn't connect to what she was experiencing because a trauma was triggered in her, which was the shooting in 2010 here, the terror attack in Norway. She broke down. I had to pick her up from work. She couldn't work because I think everything came because she was the same age of those kids at the time, and so I think it triggered a lot of people differently. I have a queer French friend who was here who also got triggered by the shootings in Paris. But the fact that we all came together to cry, to march, to ask for justice. Also, I have a Muslim friend who was like bringing up the discussion around, now this is going to become an Islamophobia thing because the aggressor was following Islam. So all of these things, and together we could heal each other and could be there to support each other. I've never had this type of support in my life, and I was like, I know it's a very paradoxical thing to say, but it was a very joyful moment at the same time. I think Bell Hooks talks a lot about community, and I think it's the only time I ever understood when she talks about her book all about love, about what community is and what it can do to you.
Yeah.
It is easier to feel pain when you're in community, and there is understanding. I never had that opportunity in my life.
I think it's that space to offer all the complexity all the layers and being not judged, I think, where that helps with the healing process. And I think having a community in that space is very important for, I think, particularly with the fact that we're discussing this very difficult topic, discrimination. And because it's just not one layer, it's not one thing, it's just so many multiple things that happened, that this thing happened, at a work level and into the private level, on the public, and then it also goes back into major events, like you mentioned, the terrorist attack, as well as, what happened in the London pub as well. That also affects you as an individual, or the people around you, where you end up supporting them as well. And I think all this are interconnected and accumulates over time, that gives so much weight to that, with multi-layers of discrimination in many ways. And I think that is what we're trying to highlight in a lot of these episodes, is that there's so much complexity, there's so much nuance, there's so much, you cannot label it in one box. It's connected in so many different ways.
Yes.
So, having said that, we talked a little bit about your journey here, and also, some of the solutions. What else do you think, when it comes to, because you said you moved away from your own home country, where you felt out of place, and now you're also in Norway, that you're sort of out of place. Do you think there is a way of finding belonging, even though you have your community here as well? I just kind of wanted to see how you feel, having traveled from a place from home and then here, and then having your own community here as well. All these things, gives you some hope, some kind of hope for the
Yes, I think it's those very small micro moments of joy and connection that these people can create together. My work with diversity and inclusion now, I have lots of different people, coming from different walks of life and lived experiences. I think that also creates that sense of community. And having this dialogue and being open to it, I think that builds connection. And I think, I think it's difficult. I have a difficult time having this sense of belonging, where is belonging. I romanticize Brazil a lot now because I'm living so far. I don't go there often. I was there back in February now, and it wasn't great. So I was just like, oh wow, the grass is always greener, I would say. So yeah, I think that's the struggle. I think that's the I don't know, that's what I'll be looking at, is how do you create belonging in the places you are at. And I think community is a beautiful way to start, but it's not easy, I have to say. It's rare.
No, I can sort of understand from what you're saying, and I think the community, you're having the healing process, but also, do you also feel a sense of belonging there as well? Because there's also multiple backgrounds as well there. I'm sure there might be times where you feel like maybe you're excluded in some ways, but you also feel like you're there. So that's why I kind of wanted to bring that up and just to kind of explore that a little bit here. The other thing that I guess, sort of to kind of round off a little bit, because we already talked a little bit about the solutions, is what else is kind of on your mind around this topic? Something that we haven't explored that you would like to explore?
That's a good question. Something I haven't explored. I think that's mostly what's in my mind, and is how can we start creating community to build the sense of connection and belonging. And seeing this as a systemic thing. I think it's not just the parents, it's education. There's so many things that we can discuss, but that's a really good question. I don't know if I can answer that. I don't know. Is there any topics you would like to explore?
I think one of the things, like, I know we moved on from the video, but there was a question I remember asking is like, you didn't report to the police. I understood that. Do you think you ever report to the police, and why didn't you report to the police?
I didn't know how. And so at the time I was very dependent on my partner because she's Norwegian, and then that was the discussion, it's like, oh, let's just let it go. But because I had this experience before in Sweden and in Denmark, that's why I filmed. I think that was the first change I did. It was like, I'm not gonna let this go. So I filmed it. And then with the thing with the police, like, none of my friends or my partner were like, let's do it. Because we sent the video to the mom. And she responded, then my partner felt like, okay, I feel I got closure. I don't need to go to the police. And it was also based on the conversation she had with the boy. Because she was actually, I was very proud of my partner by the way she talked to him. She actually built that kind of empathetic bond. She kind of asked him, do you understand what you did? Do you understand the impact you had on me? What do you think was the impact on me? She asked questions such as like, what do you think will happen if people see this video in your life? Like, she actually really asked, and she said, do you know that I grew up with people coming from your neighborhoods and bullying me in the tram every day because I lived in Groenland? Because they also mentioned like, go back to Mukkalukka and like some shit like that. That is not in the video. So she actually asked more questions than she than what she told him off. She was just asking him questions, and to her that was enough. That was closure. But I'm more like, I need more of a sense of justice, because I think I didn't get a response from his mom. I didn't get a response from him. So today I would be like, fuck, I still feel, sorry for the bad word again, I still feel I miss that. I don't think I would go to the police anymore because I don't think it would be in agreement with my partner. But next time, or I will make sure I will, I hope I don't see this again, but if it does, I will make sure I support whoever is going through this by showing them how to and giving the emotional support. I think that's what I would do. But, yeah.
I think we should end there. I think that what you said as a last message is a good one, and I don't want to say anything more after that. And I think emotional support is something that we all need, and something that I don't know if it's necessary skill. I think it sometimes is reaching at the depth of the heart to show compassion and kindness. And that leads us to be able to show some emotional support, I think. But thank you so much for coming here and revisiting some unpleasant moments in your life and the work you do. I think the very fact that you're here to speaking up about this story gives space and permission for others to also speak up. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.